WrestleMania 41's night one started with a bang, but quickly fell flat in certain areas. However, when it came to the main event, things took a drastic turn for the better. What began as an intense and highly anticipated match evolved into one of the most unforgettable moments in WWE history. The fans, expecting to witness another thrilling contest, were blindsided by the shocking betrayals that unfolded before their eyes. What initially seemed like a well-orchestrated battle of power and manipulation became a stage for Paul Heyman to reveal his true loyalties. In a jaw-dropping twist, Heyman first betrayed his longtime ally, CM Punk. But as the WWE Universe tried to process the first betrayal, it wasn't long before Heyman stabbed his tribal chief, Roman Reigns, in the back as well. To make matters worse, Heyman, in a shocking display of calculated opportunism, aligned himself with none other than Seth freaking Rollins. The image of Heyman and Rollins standing tall to close out the night sent shockwaves through the WWE Universe. This video will take a deep dive into the real reasons behind Heyman's betrayal of both CM Punk and Roman Reigns, exploring the motivations that led him to join forces with Rollins instead. Paul Heyman's betrayal of CM Punk, the end of a manipulative alliance. The betrayal of CM Punk by Paul Heyman is, in many ways, understandable, especially when viewed through the lens of loyalty and self-preservation. Throughout this entire storyline, Punk made it clear that he saw Heyman as little more than a pawn in his larger game against Roman Reigns. Punk used Heyman's relationship with the tribal chief as a psychological weapon, manipulating Heyman's emotions and loyalty to further his own cause. For Heyman, this was a toxic dynamic. Punk's manipulation forced Heyman into an impossible position, caught between his loyalty to Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, and his role in Punk's mind games. From Heyman's perspective, it was clear that Punk was using him as a tool to destabilize the very foundation of what he had spent years building in WWE. And for a man like Heyman, whose entire career has been built on the strength of his alliances and the trust he places in the men he manages, that was a betrayal in and of itself. Loyalty means something to Paul Heyman, and watching Punk use him to attack the very structure that he had worked so hard to build was a bridge too far. The bigger betrayal, Roman Reigns. But the real shocker came moments later when Paul Heyman betrayed Roman Reigns, the man he had loyally served for years. Heyman's loyalty to Reigns was once rock solid, the foundation of the dominant bloodline faction that had reigned supreme over WWE for years. Yet, in the blink of an eye, Heyman turned his back on Reigns in one of the most stunning moments in WWE history. At first, it seemed that Heyman's betrayal of Punk was a calculated move to preserve his relationship with Reigns. But mere moments later, Heyman shocked the world by doing the unthinkable. He turned on Reigns as well. So, what exactly happened? The truth is, their relationship had been deteriorating for a long time. Let's rewind a year and look at the dynamic within the bloodline. As the group's dominance reached unprecedented heights, something sinister was quietly brewing beneath the surface. Reigns' lengthy absence from WWE after losing his title only intensified the cracks in their foundation. While Roman was away, the bloodline, once a tightly knit family, began to treat Heyman like a punching bag, an afterthought, someone to be used and abused. It got so bad that there were times when Heyman was brutally attacked by members of the faction, such as the incident with Solo Sikoa, who physically assaulted him when he wouldn't acknowledge him as the new tribal chief. The breaking point, Roman's disrespect, and the rise of Seth Rollins. Despite all the physical and emotional wounds, Heyman tried to show loyalty to Reigns. He even worked tirelessly to bring in a new ally, Karrion Kross, to help bolster Roman's chances at War Games. Instead of gratitude, Heyman was met with suspicion and distrust from Reigns. Worse still, Roman crossed the line by physically putting his hands on Heyman during the build-up to WrestleMania 41. This was not just a sign of disrespect. It was a blatant declaration that Reigns no longer valued Heyman's services. From Heyman's perspective, Roman's actions painted a clear picture. His time at the top was running out. Heyman, a man known for backing winners, could see that. His past decisions had been driven by the foresight to align himself with the right people at the right time. First with Brock Lesnar, then with Roman Reigns. But now, Reigns was no longer the future. The future was Seth Rollins, the hottest name in wrestling. With Rollins having the charisma, skill, and star power to take WWE into the next era, Heyman saw an opportunity to back a new winner. Rollins had the potential to do what Reigns couldn't do, bring stability and a new energy to WWE. And as WrestleMania 41 proved, Heyman was smart enough to recognize that it was time to shift allegiances. In a calculated move, Heyman joined forces with Rollins, marking the beginning of a new chapter. The Seth Rollins factor. A calculated move. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why would Paul Heyman choose to align with Seth Rollins? On the surface, this move might seem shocking. Rollins had long been an outspoken critic of part-timers, the very type of individuals who wielded power in WWE over the years. He had always been the champion of the workhorse mentality, the guy who would show up week after week, earning his place in WWE through hard work and dedication. Why would he throw that away and join forces with Paul Heyman, who had been known to manipulate and betray even the most loyal of allies? The answer lies in Rollins' frustration. For years, Rollins had fought tirelessly for recognition and respect, only to watch others coast to the top on the back of politics and favoritism. Men like Roman Reigns had built their careers on constant interference and cheap wins, while Rollins had earned his place by delivering match after match. It wasn't fair, and eventually, Rollins had enough. Like John Cena before him, Seth reached a breaking point. The man who had always fought the system found himself tired of doing so alone. The bigger picture. The Rock's influence on Seth Rollins. The unexpected alliance between Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman at WrestleMania 41 was not just a twist. It was a culmination of subtle hints and deliberate foreshadowing that had been building for weeks. It wasn't just a random partnership or a decision made on a whim. Over the last few months, Seth Rollins had been making small yet noticeable changes in his persona. Changes that seemed to echo the swagger, attitude, and style that The Rock made iconic in the WWE. Rollins' recent ring gear, the bold colors, the flashy designs, these weren't just for show. There was a deliberate nod to The Rock's own look, an unmistakable sign that Rollins was stepping into a larger role, one that could be tied to the most influential figure in WWE history. His charisma, his mannerisms, even the way he carried himself in promos, all felt like homage to the man who had ruled the WWE for years. But it wasn't just Rollins borrowing from The Rock. It was Rollins signaling to the WWE universe that something bigger was on the horizon. But the true breadcrumb was laid down by Paul Heyman himself. In a segment months before WrestleMania 41, Heyman flashed a subtle yet powerful hand gesture, a gesture famously used by The Rock during the Bad Blood angle. For many, this might have seemed like a passing moment, but for those paying attention, it was clear. This wasn't just a random homage. The future of WWE, a new dominant force. By the end of Night 1 at WrestleMania 41, when Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins stood tall in the ring, the magnitude of their alliance became clear. This wasn't just two men celebrating a victory. This was the birth of a new era. It wasn't about loyalty or betrayal for its own sake. It was about power, about aligning with the future, and about setting the stage for a seismic shift in WWE's landscape. For years, WWE had been dominated by established stars like Roman Reigns, John Cena, and others. But in the shadows, there had been a growing sense that the time for a new wave had arrived. Rollins, once the rebel of WWE, had proven himself time and again as a workhorse and a top performer. However, despite his efforts, he had often been overlooked in favor of the old guard. Roman Reigns had his stranglehold on the company, with interference, politics, and sheer dominance keeping him at the top. But Rollins, like the visionary he was, saw the writing on the wall.